Hey everybody, it's David and Richard, and it is Friday, so it is our Friday Ask the Broker show. And on today's show, we're talking about a topic that most of us generally don't like to see happen, but it can happen from time to time, and that is the cancellation of an escrow. We've had a few scenarios come up in our office recently. Some questions came up, so we thought we'd cover a couple of those scenarios today. Yep. And we have for you a copy of the cancellation of contract, one-page document. But Richard, let's first look at, the buyer's side of the escrow. They need to cancel because either an issue with the inspection or something happened with their loan. They weren't qualified. How would they go about canceling and getting their deposit back in that scenario?
Okay, well, depends on which one it is, but right there, 1A is as permitted by good faith exercise of paragraphs, and then it's blank. So we know in the contract there's a paragraph saying you get 17 days to do your inspections. So if you find something wrong with the inspection and can't get it negotiated, then you can use that paragraph to say, well, we're going to cancel based on we had this much time, and we're going to cancel. The loan, like you said, is a 21-day contingency. As long as you're within your 21 days, you put that paragraph in there and say, we couldn't get our loan, or we didn't quite qualify for it, and we're within our days, so we're allowed to cancel and have a right toward our deposit back.
So that's the top section. It spells out why you're canceling. Then the bottom section, number 2, you're instructing on the release of deposit. So in the buyer's scenario, it looks like they would check number A, seller authorizes release of buyer's deposit less any buyer's fees.
Well, that would be the one that I see checked off a lot. Now, I give the advice for a buyer to maybe check off D. It's a blank one, and you put, let's say the deposit was $5,000. So the buyer would say, buyer to receive back $5,000 deposit in full. What does that mean on A when it says less fees? Less fees from the seller, less fees from the title company, less fees from who knows who. And I understand why they put that in there in case they had a fee that maybe they did an inspection, didn't pay for it yet, or things like that.
Oh, got it.
I get that, but if it's my buyer, I advise them to put other and put the whole deposit to be given back.
Okay.
Now that's the buyer side. Seller side.
Yeah, let's get to the seller scenario. So the seller is, I had a question recently, let's bring up the scenario. The fully executed contingency removal was signed by the buyer, given to the seller's agent. So we're pretty far along in the escrow. The buyer basically goes MIA. They can't reach him, he's not responding. The seller's agent gives a notice to perform to close. Still hasn't heard from him. So how would the seller's agent, the listing agent, fill out this form to cancel escrow and basically collect the buyer's deposit?
Well, your scenario is perfect for D.
Okay.
The other party has failed to close after being given a demand to close. Demand to close is 2 or 3 days?
2 days, I believe.
2 days. So after the second day, when you've given that demand, you can cancel. And by the way, as the cancellation goes, it doesn't need the other party's signature to close, because you've given the demand and they're not responding, and they haven't been responding like you said all along, so that's not needed to be able to close. Now, what happens with the deposit there?
Deposit, release of deposit and cancellation of escrow. The seller would want to check box B, which says buyer authorizes release of buyer's deposit less seller fees and costs to seller. So basically the seller's asking to keep the deposit. Now, obviously it can come up multiple times where the buyer says, well, wait a minute, I don't agree to release my deposit. If there's if they can't come to terms on how much to release, then there's a box down below, number C, or letter C, I should say, that says both buyer and seller acknowledge the cancellation of the agreement and escrow, but they don't authorize the holder to release the deposit until there's subsequent mutual instructions from a judicial decision or an arbitration. So basically that means the buyer and seller have to go to an arbitration to figure out the outcome of the deposit.
Who's going to get it back? So thus, that just answered a question that a lot of people ask. Well, we can't totally cancel the contract if we haven't decided on the deposit yet. Not true. You can cancel and the seller can move on and sell the house, and the deposit is now what's in question. Obviously, probably has to be settled in court or arbitration, or I've seen lots of times where they decided on half and half and just said, let's not go to court.
Yeah, because those are obviously bring up additional costs, and how much is it worth it to just fight over $5,000 or something like that?
Right, when the costs are going to kind of bury you and the time now to go to court.
Yeah, so a lot of different scenarios could come into play in just this one-page document. So if you're in a scenario where you don't know what to do, I'd recommend asking the broker, us.
That's right.
Or asking your manager or to help you guide you through this cancellation process, because you definitely want to do it right. There's money at stake for deposits and all that good stuff. So hopefully that was helpful on today's show.
Yeah, and believe me, both sides want that money.
That's true. All right, guys. Our Ask the Broker show is each and every Friday at 10 a.m. right here on the Stockton Realtors group. So thanks for watching it today. If you have any questions, comments whatsoever, put them down in the comment box below. And thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next week.